promotions. Love getting together with these guys. In fact, let's introduce them. First, to my left, how are you, sir?
I'm Phil. I'm doing great.
Get a little music back there for you. Phil, been a while. How you been?
I've been great.
Good. And who are you?
I am Matt. Who are you?
Good to have you back, Matt.
Hey, thanks. Great to be back.
And, of course, to my right.
I am Mark.
Hi, how you doing today?
Wonderful.
Okay, there. Let's switch that. Try it again.
I'm Mark.
Okay, there we go. Mark. And Mark, you are wonderful, by the way.
Always.
What have you guys been doing the last couple of weeks? What's new in your world? Anything?
Busy.
Busy. Well, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Comparing to last year,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. Awesome.
Okay. Now, what is Write That Down?
All right. So I feel like at the beginning of these podcasts, if this is your first time jumping in, please go back and listen to our other ones. But we'll do kind of a what is this right away. I, back in college decades ago, had a few movies.
Wait, decades ago?
Correct.
Okay.
So I had a few movies because you don't have a lot to do in college decades ago, and you have DVDs decades ago. So these are things, if you're younger, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But one movie I watched all the time was Van Wilder, and one line that he had was "Write that down." And it was kind of part of that movie, and it's something that stuck with me. So throughout the decades, I just say, "Write that down, write that down," and everybody who knows me is around me. It's white noise because I say it all the time. But I personally think when I say "write that down," like it's flash of genius.
Yeah.
So Phil and Mark started with us January of 2020 at Probetus, and these are fresh in the industry, like ripe for everything they take in, especially when their fearless leader says anything and he says, "Write that down." And Phil's like, "Oh, well, I better write that down." So then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, somebody's writing that down." So I'm getting excited. And Phil's got this notebook with some of my just amazing quotes.
Amazing quotes, yeah.
Year and a half or so. So it's just been nice for me to have these guys in the office just soaking up all of these just genius things that I say. So we take an opportunity every episode to go through one of these wonderful quotes.
As I look over at Phil, you seem to be chuckling a little bit there.
I mean, he did a great recap, but it makes me sound like I'm like this scared little person who's starting a new job, which I suppose is a little bit accurate. But yeah, it's been fun to write these things down, and a lot of them, there is some deeper wisdom. I'm excited to talk about the one that we're going to go through today. We'll get to that in a minute, but
Yeah.
there's a lot that you can learn from somebody who's been in any industry for a long time. And I think it's important that even though, this kind of started out as a joke, there is a lot of wisdom, to pay attention to those people that have been doing this for a long time, so you don't have to struggle through as hard and hopefully have success a lot faster.
The Write That Down is huge. If you look over at my mess of a desk here, I have got sticky notes, and it took me about 55 years to realize that I need to start writing things down. I don't know if it was the 80s was that hard on me, that my memory isn't as good as it used to be, but I have to write down everything. I'm lucky I don't have a Sharpie marker with me because my hands would be just full of blue things. We were together a couple of weeks ago, and I tell you what, Mark, do you remember what we talked about? Can we recap that a little bit?
Yeah, so the last time we were together, we talked about a person's lack of preparation is your opportunity to be a superhero. So what we just talked about, like a lot of times when people come in and they need something, sometimes they need a quick turnaround. So we try to be a superhero if it's something that we can actually do. Some things are out of our control, but we definitely work to be that superhero and make things happen for them.
Okay. Now we're here at a new episode with the Write That Down podcast. And I see you've kind of got a little title for it. Always Be Sellin'?
Always Be Sellin'. Yep, that's the flash that I got the one day when I blacked out, and Phil's like, "All right, I better write that down." And it's something that the line in sales is always be closing. I even Googled it today just to check myself, because if you start typing in Google and it tells you what you're supposed to think, that's what you're supposed to think. So I typed in always be, and then it was like, I don't know, some songs I'd never heard of, like 1 through 3. And then number 4 on there was closing. I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not right. You got to always be selling. So that's kind of the point of it. When you're in sales, you're always on. If you're at church, if you're out at the mall, if you're at a sports game, you're the face, you're the person who's selling, and you know, people kind of know you as that.
Sure.
So that's the world that these two jumped into a little over a year and a half ago.
You know, how important is it for you to get to know your clients good enough where you walk in, they know who you are? There's no, you know, you always are a little hesitant walking into a new customer or a new potential client, but how important is it to you to have that rapport with your clients where it's more like you just walking in and talking to a buddy?
It's super important to me. I have a specific example I can talk about because a lot of the clients that I work with are people that I've, I guess, inherited from other salespeople. And so for a big portion of this last year, I've been working with folks sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and I've never actually seen their faces. So you're emailing back and forth, you're on the phone, and you imagine what they look like. But I think that final component of that face-to-face is sometimes, you know, so important because then it becomes that friend level. And that's what you're hoping for long-term. And so actually this week, I've already, went to do some drop-offs at another client, and I was driving past somebody's business, and I was like, man, I haven't met her yet. So I just like parked the car on my way back, and I walked up to the door, and everybody looked super confused because nobody was expecting me. They had no idea who I was, and I'm like, hey, can I talk to Heather? And they're like, sure. So
And
I guess
that's something like people's confused look being around each other this last year. Like
Sure.
now we're coming out of this stuff. Now, Mark, like you've talked about that too. You're a people person. I've known you for a long time talking about that relationship thing. You know, I knew Phil a little bit from working with him at UND. I knew Mark, you know, a lot for working with him at All True for a long time. And you become friends, and that's that personal interaction's a thing. And Mark is a very want to be around people sort of person. Can you talk a little bit about what that's been like your first year of sales, not having a lot of that?
Oh yeah, it's definitely been challenging for me. I'm definitely a people person, like Matt said.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think a lot of it is, or maybe some of it is just my age difference. I'm not a huge technology person, just be sitting behind a computer, you know, being able, when you had to do that, or just dealing with phone calls or like emails, that's just not me. I want to walk in and say, hey, John, how's it going? You know, just have a conversation. I feel like that building relationship and being a people person, I will say that it was a struggle for me, you know, just that being able to connect with people. Because I think you can read body language and you know what, just being a conversationalist.
Yeah, when they can't see your face, they can't see the looks on your face, the expressions and things like that. It's a lot harder. I mean, 35 years in radio, and I remember you meet people and they, oh man, I listen to you all the time. And I go, yeah, I'm John. And they go, oh, you're him? That's why I wasn't in TV for all those years.
And I think one thing too is kind of, I think probably just a Midwest thing or being from North Dakota, you know, we're a smaller state where, you know, we do build those relationships with people we know, whether it's like, you know, you can be at the gym and see the mayor, you know, you could be on at the airport, run into one of your United States senators and you know what, you recognize them. You know, coming from larger states, you don't have that. So I think that's kind of that uniqueness. And like I said, with that, building that relationship. So when you come in with your client, you kind of build that.
Yeah, and it's nice when you can walk in and they go, oh, you know, hey, Phil, or hey, Mark, or hey, Matt, it's good to see you. What's new today?
Right, yep. And I think, too, you can just read so much more. You know what I mean? For myself, it's like body language, and I think you can connect better.
And I want to talk about that when they run into you thing. It's hilarious. And I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but being in this industry now for 16 years, and they'll run into you if they're a client friend, you know, that relationship thing, and they're like, oh, I need to order those pens, or I need those caps. It's like your face jogged their memory as to like their work they needed to do. And the reality is like they're so, the way our business world works right now, people are just inundated with more and more work, and the promotional stuff just gets kind of put off to the side. And it's like when you're always selling, when you're always out there, it's okay for them to say that. And you have to own that as a salesperson. You have to be like, no, I'm off the clock. Leave me alone. Don't talk. No, it's like, sounds good. I'm going to make a little note. I'll get back to that. And then you talk about the kids and the weekend and that sort of thing.
You know, maybe you're meeting with a client and you've been with them or worked with them alongside of them for how long? Pretty soon you almost forget that you're there for work and you start gabbing and talking about the kids and the twins or whatever. And you go, oh, that's right. I'm here for a reason. But that's a good thing to have happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think if you've spent the time creating a relationship in advance, it's very natural to always be selling. And the meeting people out in the wild, I always call it out in the wild because you're not like in your work environment. But when you run into folks out in the wild, Matt's absolutely right. It spurs so many things, and it turns into sales all the time. And one of the things about the quote, if you say always be selling, I think a lot of people would read that if they don't, hear us talk about it, and they'd say, well, I don't want to be that guy that's always in your face and like, hey, what about this? What about this? And that's not at all what it means. It just means that you're ready to go, you're top of mind, and because of that frequency of you being around, you being available, you touching base with these people, you keep yourself top of mind, and so the selling happens on its own. And I love that aspect. It makes a huge difference, and I love seeing people out in the wild because then they can see that you're an active member of the community. You're not just there to sell them something that day. They see you around naturally, and I think that can really create long-term success.
So the term "always be selling," that's what a good salesperson does.
Yeah, and I feel like it's an inherent thing as a salesperson. You could teach people to sell, but if you're a salesperson, that's just part of who you are. So it's just you're always selling. And example I give is I have an unhealthy addiction to Adidas. You thought I was going to say something else, but it's Adidas apparel, watches, shoes, socks, whatever. And I don't get paid. Like, I don't know if Adidas is going to send a check after this podcast or not. I highly doubt it. They haven't yet, but I'm always selling Adidas. Like, I'm like repping Adidas because I love the brand and I'm selling it. And that's just because that's who I am as a person. I think as salespeople, we get into stuff, Phil's into watches, Mark's into shoes. Like, we're always talking about this stuff because we like it. And that's just, it exudes out of who we are.
That's a super good point, because one of the things that these guys did when Mark and I started, that it didn't impact me right away, but as I stayed there, I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. They gave us a initial budget, and they said, we want you to buy a bunch of stuff that we can get and that we sell, and we want you wearing it. And it wasn't like a requirement, like you need to be wearing this uniform every day or you're done. Or maybe that was behind the scenes. You were thinking that. But it was cool because what was really behind that is they wanted you to have experience with what you were selling. They wanted you to have firsthand knowledge of it. And so anytime you're out and about, whether it's out in the community or you're actually on a sales call, somebody could look and say, hey, I'm looking for, quarter zip, kind of like that one you've got on. And you're like, oh yeah, this is my favorite. Here's 3 more of my favorite. But you can instantly speak to your product in a way that's knowledgeable, and it's something that you're excited about. And that kind of freedom was really fun because you basically had this shopping spree. You're like, all right, let's stock up. But it's fun because you found some stuff that you really thought was great. You found some stuff that you didn't think was great. And instantly your knowledge is expanded. You know what to recommend, what to avoid. And even like your clothing, the stuff that you're presenting yourself with becomes a part of your sales pitch. And man, I did not expect that, but it's happened so many times.
And can I just interject here and talk about shopping sprees? This is kind of off topic here, but Mark Jensen's shopping sprees, which he has at the office. So one of the benefits of being in this industry is you get stuff. Why are you making that face, Mark? You don't want to talk about this?
Well, no, because I know.
So one of the benefits of being in this industry is we get stuff at cost, right? Hey world, we mark this stuff up. That's how we make money. But we get this stuff at cost. And Mark Jensen has a nice account that's got lots of lines on it of different things he's purchased over this relatively short amount of time. So what are some of your favorite things, Mark Jensen?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like, let's say I started that year in January, and probably about October. No, Matt came in and we just had a little talk, and he said, Mark, if you reach a certain amount, we might have to have some retail therapy for you.
We might have to have an intervention.
So then it was kind of one of those things where I kind of looked at everybody's, and I'm like, whoa. Let's see, Matt has a wife, children, and I still have more line items, and I'm single. But yeah, so... Now, what did you ask me? So you got me so worked up about shopping.
Like what are some of your favorites, Mark? Like, because you've ordered like almost one of everything of the 300,000 products that we sell. So what are some of your favorites?
Well, of course, I'm kind of a clothes guru, so if I find something I like the bright colors, although today I'm not wearing a bright color, but I'm wearing one of my favorite brands, and they only come in black, gray, and maybe a royal blue. And I think I wore the royal blue last time. I just think, that's uniqueness. And I think, too, kind of back as a whole, like if you have a passion for something, whatever job you're in,
Sure.
you know what, it does no longer becomes work, you know, and you're always observant. And that's what I feel like even in our role, you know, you're always just out there looking, you know. And so like for me, until just the other day, Phil stopped in my office and said, "Hey, Mark, I have a question on some clothing." You're kind of the fashion guru.
It was the poll. I was going to bring that up too, because Mark has tried just about everything. I walked into his office and I said, "I want to sell this brand of polo." I think it was just like Port and Company or something standard. And I said, "Which one do I present?" And Mark's like, "Oh," and he starts like filtering and he's like, "This one is good. This one is good. I have this one. I have 2 or 3 of these." And I'm like, "All right, I'm going to show the ones that you've worn because obviously you like them enough to, you know, keep wearing them." But it was hilarious because we've got hundreds of, you know, resources at our disposal that might be faster than talking to Mark, right? You know, I can use the database. We've got some catalogs. We've got all these resources that we can go to, but I would still rather run to the next office and talk to somebody who has the stuff. And that's something I think that's nice just about how ProBeat tries to operate, is that if you want those recommendations, just stop in and talk to us.
Sure.
But I will say, if we had some suppliers that sold shoes, I would probably need to be in retail therapy, because you know what, another one too, you know, it's like shopping. But I think too, like I said, then that's one nice thing about our job and also of our team. You know what, we all have different expertise and things that we like, you know, typically, and I always know from just working with Matt in the past, Matt's a very tech person, you know, so if I need a question on tech thing, I'm going to go ask Matt. Am I going to ask him something on fashion? I don't know, because you know what? He typically
What about
just wears gray
Adidas
and black.
fashion?
Adidas, yeah.
Okay.
But you know, but I think that even helps, you know. And like we have another one on our team, Savannah. She's always good. Like she knows the industry. Like if you want something about a baseball cap or a hat, go to Savannah, because you know what, she's going to know, and it's just off the top of your head. So I think, you know, that's the unique thing, is when you bring all these different personalities and passions together. You know, it's a team. So all of a sudden, boom. You know what, we can help and find. So. But like I said, sometimes I think it's a little challenging when I'm a shopper.
You know,
for this job for me.
by talking with you guys, I mean, you can just see it in your face. You guys really like what you do, don't you?
It's fun. I mean, I was just
Matt
thinking about.
pays us to say that. Yes, we love it. We love Matt Fisher. Matt Fisher is awesome.
Your turn.
I was just thinking about like what is each of our specialty, because like, you know, Mark was talking about, you know, he's the clothes guy. You know, Matt can be Adidas and random words of wisdom, but like Chrissy on our team. Yeah, I don't know if it was self-proclaimed or if somebody told me this about her, but she's the display person. Like if you need a backdrop, if you need a flag, if you need something that looks awesome behind you at a live event, like she was the go-to, and she was recommending stuff from companies I'd never heard of. And this is another person that's been in the industry for so long. And I was just thinking here, like, do I have an expertise? And I think the only thing I've offered up is that I'm really good at finding expensive things.
Which is a really good thing, because in our industry, it's hard to, you know, most of the time people want the small stuff. Like, what can I get for $1? It's like, here's a pen and a notebook. But sometimes they're going to be like, I need something for $340. And it's like, well, I haven't sold one of those in 6 years. Hey, Phil, what have you seen? What have you purchased yourself recently?
It's so funny because the things that I find, I get all excited about and I'll show everyone. And like Matt and Savannah are very kind, but they kind of smile and they're like, that's really neat. Like, yeah, for the very specific type of client that might work. And I thought, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, people like quality, and they've been right. They don't.
Well, and I think too, when you say like quality, it kind of brings back like the nice thing too, is because, you know, in our industry, there's anything, you know, let's say you're looking for a keychain. Well, you know what? There's 10,000 keychains. But, you know, if you're specialized in looking for that or clothing, you're going to probably find the best product for that person. That's what our ultimate goal is. We want to make sure our client gets the best return and the best quality. You know,
Sure.
so I think that's a nice thing, because in an industry like ours, there's hundreds of thousands of things out there. But you know what? There's also, just like anything, you know what, you're going to have this level to this level.
Right. So, okay, we know now that Mark likes shoes, Matt likes shoes. I love Crocs, so we all got, you know, the shoe thing in common. Everybody loves shoes except Phil.
No, Phil likes shoes.
Yeah, I've got several.
Oh, I've got
One for
several
each
shoes.
foot. One for each foot, for sure. No, I was on a journey earlier this year.
Oh,
because
tell us about it.
I don't enjoy wearing tennis shoes, you know, when I'm working. I want to like look really nice, but I tell you what, I'm 37 now and my feet hurt because I have this standing desk. So Matt convinced me to go to a standing desk because it helps with the back, but now my feet hurt. And so I was on a journey to find something that had the support of a tennis shoe, but looked like a boot. And I like went over this for months and months. And Savannah can back me up. She walked in recently, but I was like, what do you think about these? What do you think about these? And I finally landed on a pair of Danner boots
Oh yeah.
that used to be made in the USA. These ones are not. But they have like that EVA sole on the bottom, so it's nice and squishy. But it looks like a legit like hiking boot, Pacific Northwest, red laces, that sort of thing. Man, that looks so awesome when I'm at work because it looks like I'm wearing these sweet boots. People think that I'm Mr. Cool. And really, I'm just doing it because I'm getting older and I need comfort.
Okay.
And see, I'm to the opposite point. I'm older, but you know what? I will wear anything as long as they look good in fashion. Because I want somebody to say, look at those shoes.
Would you wear something like this? Look at that.
I hate to tell you when you were talking about your Crocs, that's one thing that I just can't go down that path yet. Sorry.
I drew the line at Crocs as well. Like, I won't own them for myself. However, my wife convinced me to get, like, they call them native. They're like Croc ripoffs, but they don't have the back. But we got those for all the kids. And it is nice because kids basically just will only wear sweatpants and slip-on shoes.
Yep.
And if you give them a pair of jeans, like, whatever happened to jeans? Like, no, kids don't like jeans. They're like, they're too stiff. It's like, are you kidding me? It's jeans. You have to wear them for a week, and then they're not stiff, but they refuse to wear them. That's weird.
Do you guys do you dress more casual in the summer? Can you wear shorts and stuff working for Probitas, or do you kind of have like a little dress code there? Because see, like me, I live in shorts once
Mark
it
gets
gets warm
mad at me,
enough.
I think, because I'm too casual probably, but like, I don't. Yeah, right. He doesn't get mad at me.
We can spin this into a sales. Can I
We
save
don't
it
need
quick?
to spin into
I want
sales.
to
I'm-
save it. I got something to say.
Well, I just want to say and I want you to say what you're going to say.
I will.
But ever since this whole COVID thing, like, I'm wearing jeans every day, and it's. When I started out, it was like dress pants, dress shoes, button-up shirt, and it's like half the time I'm in the office by myself. If I'm going out to a sales call, yeah, I'll put something nice on. But our business culture in the world has gotten so casual. You rarely see people in suits anymore. You
Sure.
rarely see, even bankers.
Yeah,
Bankers are
even
dressing.
church.
Yeah, exactly. So summer for sure, shorts, sandals. If you're always selling, you should be comfortable.
Okay.
Is my thinking. But
Sure.
what were you thinking, Phil?
I'm going to jump right off that. So back to Always Be Sellin. One thing that Matt does, and I think it was great advice, but he recommended that you dress to match whoever you're working with that day. So you can't control the people that are walking in. They're just going to see you as you are, but you're in your home environment. But if you're going to their environment, you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable
Sure.
by being, too far off from where they're at. And so that's exactly right. If I've got a meeting coming up where I know that I'm meeting with somebody in a professional environment, I want to make sure that they know that I give a darn. I do care. About how we're representing ourselves,
Sure.
our appearance, all of those things. You're going to dress to match that. And that's another part of always selling. Like, you're trying to be respectful of the business, what you represent, and that person that you're working with. And so, yeah, we absolutely match that, even if during the last year it's been a little bit more chill.
Yeah, and I will say that about the always selling thing too, and always being on. It's a responsibility you take as a salesperson. I mean, you signed up for that. So if you're the salesperson, then you go out off the clock, we'll say, and you're just being a complete jerk. That represents you as a salesperson. It represents the company you work for.
Sure,
so
it does.
You can't do that as a salesperson. That said, I do want to bring up the point of always selling. I've worked in this career before where I was always on, where I'm checking emails at 11 at night, where I'm on the weekends taking phone calls, and you can get to the point as a salesperson where you're burnt out.
Sure.
So we do have to keep that in mind, salespeople too. It's okay to turn it off. When you're at home, when you're, turn the cell phone
That's
off,
what
put it
voicemail
away.
is for,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Voicemail. You'll get back to somebody at a later point. So that's something that we really stress at Probitas is like taking that vacation. If you're on vacation, turn it off, put
Yeah.
it away. We've got a team that's going to have your back.
Always be selling. Kind of the topic today. Now, does that mean you guys drive around with a trunk full of pens and hats and swag and all that stuff where you can just pull up and go, whoa, let me take you, let me show you here. And you open up the old trunk or always be selling.
I do have a few things
Yeah.
in my car, just because you're out and about. But I think, too, you know what? In this, when you're always selling, you're just aware. I've even realized, like, with this job, as I drive around, I've probably taken a picture of somebody's vehicle going down South Washington because there's a logo on there. I wonder if this is a client. You're just aware, I think, more of, and that's, like Matt said, you're always selling, but sometimes you don't realize it. But you know what? You maybe notice a billboard more, or you might notice a different sign just because, oh, you know what? Hey, you know what? They need that. Or you know what's crazy it is? It's like you might be out and be like, oh, you know what? You'd visit with somebody. Yeah, you know, we own a business, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, so do you promote your business? What do you do? Oh, no. You know, it's like, hey, how can we help you out? You know, and it's like, and that's a unique thing, especially like with clothing. That's my thing. It's like, you don't have to order 100 shirts. We can order one shirt and put your name on there, you know, just, so I think, you know, you're just aware. And you know, if you're good at your job and you enjoy your job, you just are looking around all the time.
Sure. That makes sense.
I don't know if this is something that's happened to you guys, but has your family just suddenly, like, they see you as this salesperson just like overnight? You talk about always be selling, but like I was texting my dad the other day and he's like, I need some stuff. And I was like, what do you need? Like, do you need me to call? He's like, oh, I want to get shirts made. And we're going on vacation in July. And he's like, he has no idea how this stuff works. So it's funny because he's not necessarily like the best client, but not the worst either. He just doesn't know. And so it's kind of funny because it's like your own parents are hitting you up and they're like, how do I do this shirt thing? And so you are like, now you have to treat them like a regular customer. But it's just funny because sometimes those projects can be really unusual because now that relationship changes. But sometimes those family relationships, they turn into your like just giant advocates. They're like, they're pitching me to like people I have no idea who they are. I've already had to, so something that we do at Probetus, I don't know if I can I talk about referrals?
Yes.
Is that
please.
okay? Okay. So one of the things that we do at Probetus that maybe not a lot of people know about is that if we get a new client referral and you tell us who they are, like we need to be aware of it, but we try to send a nice little gift to that person that did the referring. And
sure.
My own dad has already received 2 because he's like, and they've turned into legit orders. Like the other day, he's like, my barber is going to give you a call. And like, he doesn't call my work number. He doesn't call the office. Like my cell phone rings.
Oh yeah.
And I pick it up. I'm like, hello, you know, but anyway, my dad's barber just put in his second order with us and he's not local at all. Like he's in a totally different community. And
Wow.
it's been funny to see that happen where all of a sudden, you know, your friends and family members become these salespeople on your behalf.
And you know, once the company gets a reputation, that happens more and more all the time. They're thinking to themselves, well, they're not local, but I do know these guys are good. And that's a great thing. Now, it's not just all about selling swag. I mean, selling relationships, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. It's just not all about the swag, is it?
No, and that's another good point. If you're always selling and you have that in your DNA, if you're the person that's out there that's selling, you've got friends in the community. You've got clients who also have clients, and you're trying to make those connections. So it's always great for you to step out of me, and get into you, and see if you can help people. Because I've found that not even trying, if your goal is to help somebody else, it's going to come back to you tenfold. So always be out there trying to help other people out as well, for sure.
And by the way, Mark, I'm not very tech savvy either. Katie has to help me send an email. That's how bad I am.
Well, like when Matt was talking earlier, you know, in college watching like DVDs, I'm like, do you know what the beta machine is?
Do you know what an 8-track is?
Do you remember when the first microwave came out? You press the button and you run to the living room just because you never know?
You mean the radar range?
It's kind of okay, we got the microwave in.
I've got
Press
an
that button
8-track
and
story.
run.
So 8-track story. Just this week, my dad, who I was just talking about, he sends me a message and he's using Apple Music now, right? So he's like, he's into the digital world, but he sends me this link, Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
I am a big fan. I've seen them live. It's awesome. He sends me this link. He's like, check out this song. I had this on 8-track. And it's funny because like at that moment you can't listen to it, but later on that day I just like hole up in my room. I've got my phone, you know, I'm just sitting on the edge of my bed and I'm listening to this song and I'm like, man, these guys rip. It's awesome.
What was the name of the song?
It wasn't one of their hits. Shoot.
It's like, hey, you, or something like that? Or
No, it was on. So the album cover just had, you know, I think it was C.F. Turner's face on the cover.
Oh,
like,
yep.
It's the white with black and white photo, but it was one of the songs on there, and I'll look it up. You guys talk about something, I'll figure it out.
Okay. What else? Is there anything we missed?
You know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to, and this is kind of off the cuff, but this episode's going to come out after we've already announced it, but like shortly after. Probitas Promotions is going to do something pretty cool next week.
Oh.
And there is a giant retail company at Amazon. That's who they're called. They offer something called free shipping. And it has slowly kind of trickled down throughout every industry. Everybody's offering free shipping except for the promotional products industry. And I'm going to announce it right now. Probitas Promotions for the rest of this year, starting May 3rd through December 31st, is offering free ground shipping on every order. Doesn't matter how much, doesn't matter how few we're going to send. If it's to one location, you need 1,000 mugs shipped here, no shipping. We're going to try it. Now, if you're listening to this podcast in the future, post December 31st, 2021, and we're not doing it, call me and say, hey, why don't you do that anymore? If we are still doing it, that means it rocked and we are going to continue to do this forever. But we're going to try it just for this short term. Now, if you're listening to this podcast in the past, call me for sure because I'm super into time travel and want to find out how, first off, you got the podcast from the future. We're able to listen to it in the past. And I want to figure that out with you and I want to learn from you.
Free shipping. That's huge.
And time travel.
And time.
I'm going to throw in one more thing about the free shipping. Like I didn't know this before I came into the industry, but like shipping is a real cost to companies like us.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real cost to companies like Amazon. They are losing a ton of money on this, but they make it up elsewhere because they have servers and they spy on you and all this other junk. But we are not doing the spying, but it's a real cost to us. And so this could be really huge for folks that are getting heavy stuff like drinkware and paper products are super
absolutely.
heavy. Like
Yeah.
there's a ton. And so I'm excited to be able to offer this stuff to clients, new clients, because it's something they've become used to because of these giants. And if a local, organically grown company like Probitas can pull something like this off, it's a game changer.
Boys, gentlemen, men, thank you for coming in today. It's awesome.
Pleasure.
Love
Thank
having
you.
you guys in here. There you go. The Write That Down podcast hosted by Probitas Promotions. If you're looking to boost your brand, Probitas Promotions will make you stand out from the crowd. Probitas will consult with you at no cost to help you find the perfect swag for your business. Maybe you're looking for logoed apparel, and maybe you need some hats or promotional products or trade show displays or even awards. Well, Probitas is the region's top provider for free online stores. In fact, they're the perfect option for your company apparel ordering, team spirit wear, or any type of organization that wants to dress their members with logoed apparel. Make sure you talk to them too about this free shipping stuff, all right? Probitas Promotions, locations everywhere. Grand Forks, Fargo, Bismarck, Minot. Shop ProbitasPromo.com or call 1-866-PRO-SWAG. Boost your brand, stand out from the crowd with Probitas Promotions. And again, thanks to the guys from Probitas, Phil, Matt, and Mark. We will catch you again soon. And have yourself a great day and enjoy the weather.